folks, and welcome back to an episode of Thames FC with me, FM. It's fair to say the last few episodes have been rather hectic, so we're going to just bring the pace down ever so slightly and talk through the season that we've just had, the ridiculousness of it, some of the stats that go along with it, and see then how we stand for next season as we progress into the Championship. Hopefully you've watched the other episodes, otherwise that will have ruined everything. So let's take a look at the league first, then focus on some individual performances. As you can see, Chesterfield, they are joining us in the next tier of English football, so that should be quite exciting. You can see then from the stages if you look at the league table. There sit Thames, second in the league table, 12 goals, the difference between ourselves and Southend, and then a couple of points ahead of Chesterfield, who obviously have to go through by the playoffs. But there's a few concerning aspects of this. There's some real highlights of this, and there are some real concerning aspects. The highlights, of course, is that 122 goals is a ridiculous amount of goals to score. Wickham up there with quite a few goals. I can't remember them scoring loads of goals. Oh, yeah, no, it's coming back to me now. But the against is the, that kind of says everything you need. Fourth worst in terms of goals conceded. 89 goals conceded, and I finished second in the league. That might be a record. If you can beat it, don't try to. It's not a smart thing to do. I mean, we've had to score 122 goals. If we'd have scored 77, which is what Chesterfield did, we'd have got up with a minus goal difference. And in fact, the reality is, folks, we wouldn't have got up. They scored nearly 50 less goals. 50 less goals. That's ridiculous, isn't it? So then how did the team look then compared to the sides? It might be like, well, how did this happen, Ben? What happened to get a third back-to-back promotion? Well, if you look at some of the detailed results, the top one stands out to me in a massive way. Possession-wise, we are keeping 57% possession across all matches, 5% or 4.5% more than any other side. Not even like the top sides. You talk about Chesterfield and Southend, they're a little bit lower down from, say, Ebbsfleet, who were the second team on the list, but that is an outrageous amount. More passes, over 3,000 more passes than any other team in the Division 2. It's quite remarkable. I have to say, I'm pretty pleased with how that season's gone, and that is the style that we play with that Darren formation, with those technical midfielders. That is exactly what we want. Getting the strikers involved as well, and you mustn't grumble. Of course, we've looked through a few of these already. Things like goals, of course, you know that we're top from that. Cross completion is surprisingly high when you think about how little crossing we do. That might be a reason as to why, but still, 202 crosses. There's teams with far more than us this season. The top, of course, you hope for a massive amount more than us all year. As we go through a few others, there's crosses completed and things like this, which, again, no, don't do too many of them. Goals from corners, not a strength of ours, only 5 all season. When you think about just how many goals we scored, the lack of goals from set pieces is maybe a potential problem. 3 goals from free kicks directly, again, not ideal for us, and indirect free kicks 6. So, I mean, it's not awful, it's just not necessarily there. Maybe set piece takers, or maybe sort of looking at set pieces closer, going into the upper divisions could be vital in some of these bigger games. Pass completion won't surprise you with the most amount of possession. We've also got the most amount of pass completion. 78% is very, very good for our division. Very happy with that, of course. Passes completed. This is a big one for me. Chances created, 45 more chances than anybody else in the division. That, again, suggests that there's a reason we scored so many goals. It's we create far more chances than anybody else. You can see the gap from us to second, and then second to third, and so on and so forth. It gets a lot closer, whereas we are a mammoth amount higher than everybody else. Shots on target percentage as well, very, very good. Not only are we having lots of shots, we're hitting the target with those shots. And, again, not that surprising. 382, 81 more shots on target than anybody else in the division. You can see why we're scoring so many. And, of course, there's lots of other bits as well. Clean sheets is obviously something that we should probably talk about. We sit 21st in terms of clean sheets. 5 clean sheets all year. 5 clean sheets all year. Not ideal, is it? Only 1 direct free kick as well, which kind of tells you everything. Our defence needs radical improvement, and we'll talk about that as we go through some of the individual performances. It's not great. Of course, this is also an area which people are concerned about. I mean, we'll start with average attendance. We are comfortably bottom of that with 2,000 people, which is more than most, but sometimes we sell out. Sometimes we have vastly less than that. By capacity then, again, bottom of that, 35%. And going into the Championship, I'm a little bit concerned with how that's going to look as we play some of the bigger teams. Of course, attracting bigger teams to Thames and beating them, and maybe signing a couple of high-profile names for the side that we're at, then that could improve things, but it's not ideal. And again, highest attendance, it was actually higher than Ebbsfleet's, but I think they've got a stadium restriction of 5,000, so that would be why. And lowest attendance, again, not proud of it, particularly viewers, but it's at the top there. We win that award, if that's an award you can win. Net spend this year, we were mid-table, really, by spending nothing at all. Some teams obviously make money, some teams don't make money. And then salary per annual, and this is probably the bit that I enjoy the most when talking about Thames this season, 23rd. Ebbsfleet who you saw actually had a very high pass completion. Obviously, try and play the right way. Don't spend a lot of money doing it. 1.52 million is ours, and you look at the teams at the top there. Southend, of course, went up 3.4 million on their end. I mean, the fact Oxford and Wigan haven't gone up, well, Oxford especially, is a bit ridiculous, don't you think? But regardless of that, a decent year all in all, and of course, to get promoted for 3 seasons in a row, there are 2 men we should probably thank for that, and I don't want to brush over this by any stretch. This is part of the reason I'm doing this video. We should never forget the contribution by Altidal and Pat Rogers. It is quite remarkable. 40 goals in 44 games. 23 assists and 8 player match awards, a 7.8. Of course, I'm sure you've had players that have been in that 8 range before, but the amount of goals and assists he guarantees per game is outrageous. And don't forget about Pat Rogers. By all means, don't forget about Pat Rogers. I'm very, very concerned after putting in some inquiries. I mean, in fact, I'll show you now. If I go for loans here, Cardiff are looking to give him a chance in the first team. And I mean, after the season he's just had in League One, you can't really blame them, can you? I think he's been playing below his level for quite some time now. He will go down in Thames history. 85 goals and 124 league games is outrageous. And 47 assists, by the way, also very, very good at 7.59 this year. Those 2 guys should not be forgotten in the history of Thames, and I'm sure they won't be. Scott Burgess as well, worth mentioning, had a terrific season, coming in at the tender age of 33, 17 goals, 14 assists. By any standards, is fantastic. When you compare him, of course, to the front 2, it's not as impressive, but it's still very, very good. 7.63, and a player that I would love to keep around for next year, even at his age. His fitness is starting to kind of always speed is starting to decline a little bit, but in some areas it's getting even better, and is obviously peaking at a later age than most players do. So Scott Burgess, thank you for your season, and I'll see you next. And speaking of next season, then, there's something major to announce, and I was going to start with this, but I thought I'd save it for the midpoint so we can enjoy it together. And kaboom. There's a reason we're making this video today. It's because Thames have offered me a new contract. Not only have Thames offered me a new contract, Dickie Williams has offered me a new contract. That's right, the takeover has been completed, and he's a local businessman, so don't get too excited. He informs me that 275,000 has been pumped into the club's coffers, and a new transfer budget has been calculated. We'll get to that in just a moment. The new director then is going to be Grant Harland. I don't know, I think that they're just a director of the club, and the new board would like to point out they will only judge me on transfers and matches starting from the date they took over, which means they're not going to take too much into account from previously. Of course, the embargo was lifted and the talks went ahead. £1,400 a week is not too bad. I think that's a bit of an increase, is it, on what I'm earning right now? If we take a look there, yeah, 1.2, so it's a little bit of an increase, and it's a 2-year deal locked in. My contract was going to run out really soon, literally like 2 weeks, so I was a bit concerned if the takeover didn't happen, what would happen to me? But all seems to be fine, luckily. So financially then, £2 million, 1.9, I guess to be exact. That's how much we've got to spend in the transfer budget. We don't get a lot of the money that's brought in by the club, which is a bit of a shame. But then when you see our balance, it's a bit of a concern. 386,000 is not that much. But good news, viewers. And as we look forward to next season, friendlies have already been arranged. Liverpool, Tottenham, Derby, Crystal Palace, Fulham, some London teams in there as well. So we're hopefully going to get some big attendances. I may even arrange a couple more if I get the moment to do so. And now then, we come to the team, and we're going to go to the squad depth screen. I mean, if you want to pause that and take a look, then by all means, have a look. I'm sure some people might be interested. But squad depth, and this is where we have a problem. Midfield-wise and striker-wise, we're okay. That core through the centre, Lawrence Smith, very good defensive midfielder. Goalkeeper, we've got 2 pretty good ones, and 2 with a lot of potential as well. Lazaro could be fantastic one day, you never know. Still only 15 though. Central midfield, Scott Burgess, of course, is a superstar and can play in that more advanced role as well, as has Paul Colton. So, let's say, our core is pretty good. Of course, the 2 strikers up front. Pat Rogers, who's leaving us. Altidal, we're going to have to bring someone new in. I will try my best to get Pat Rogers, but we're going to have to bring someone new in. Even on transfers, they want like 4 million for Pat Rogers, so I don't think it'll be happening. You never know, though. You never know if he becomes surplus to requirements. This is now the issue, though, isn't it? Our defensive issue is quite clear. We have 1 average left back in James Wolfenden, of course, the loan signing that's going to leave now. Welsh, he'll be off back to Bournemouth. Centre backs, they're not going to get too much better, and Taj Holness will probably move on. And even if he doesn't move on, is he good enough for Championship football? That's a massive question mark over his name. And then defensively at the right back situation, Wolfenden again our best option. And I think this is an area in that come the summer there's going to need to be major improvement. Of course, if you'd like to see comment section, this is where you come in. If you'd like to see me do some live transfer stuff, I'll probably do half without you and try and get as much done as possible. And then sort of the latter stages of the transfer window, before the season starts, we could maybe do another stream, or I could do an extended episode. Let me know what you prefer, extended episode or a stream. Get in touch. Right then, when we look at everything, I think it's a fantastic year that you think about the amount we've advanced in the last 3 years after having quite a long time with Thames at the same level earlier in the series. Of course, we spent a couple of times as well in the National League and eventually got our way up. And now we sit pretty happy in the Championship, and it didn't take too long. Back-to-back promotions. Some of them got a title, viewers. Second every single time we go up. I mean, literally every single time, apart from the fourth when we got... Was it a playoff win that year? I think it was. And another playoff win. But in recent time, the last 3 times we've gone up, or 4 times, I should say, we always get a second, which is very underwhelming. Lazaro there is our... I mean, he's been shooted and his determination's gone down, so that's a shame. Hopefully he gets a bit taller as well. Around 6 foot, that would be ideal. Financially, as I mentioned before, we're looking okay. There's been some new sponsorship deals coming as well, so we're now getting quite a bit more money with some of those. And in terms of debt and whatnot, we've taken some bank loans out for facilities and stadium expansions and all sorts of business. One of those has just expired. There's a couple more there. I'm hoping that they'll just be paid off soon enough. There's still quite a lot on one of them. The green one there, you can see 775,000 still left to go, and that's an 8-year continual cycle. It was over 10 years, but there's 8 years remaining on it. And then the one above that, though, I think we should probably try and clear as quick as possible. I was really hoping the owners would come in and do that straight away, and it would give us a little bit more leeway in transfer windows and whatnot. But what do you think then? Do you think we're in a good position? Is there a position aside from the centre-back area or the defensive area that you think we should improve? Or do you think that we're going to struggle next year? I mean, you look at the Championship. Let's go take a look at it and see what we're going to be up against in a future episode. You can see Reading have just gone up. So Brighton, as we've played before in friendlies, are in the Championship. If you take a look at this league table, then you can see Blackburn, Bournemouth, and Reading. They're the teams that are up. Norwich are in the... Norwich, they win the... What? Geordie Amat is their manager, and they've won the Carabao Cup this year from the Championship. That's ridiculous. Quite like it, though, actually. Quite like it. Aston Villa... Preston and Fulham go down. Interestingly, Keon Harris then is going down. Maybe someone we should look to pick up on a permanent basis. Francis Jeffers is their manager. Didn't see that coming. Big club. Aston Villa. Paul Heckingbottom in charge. Going down. Their key player, Teddy Camacho. I mean, he's okay, but he's not fantastic. I mean, he's a lone player as well. He's not incredible. Nick Binns. I mean, that sounds like a criminal offence, doesn't it? Actually. But yeah, maybe it's time to raid some of those teams as well as some of the sides that were better in our division that didn't go up this season. Leeds and Forest not having particularly good years either, but a strong Championship by all accounts. Lots of familiar names in there, of course there are. We're only sort of 10 or so years in. And the Premier League is interesting. Hull, we'll play them twice again next year, but the likes of West Ham are coming down, Crystal Palace coming down, so that could be interesting. Crystal Palace won 2 games all year. My word, that is stressful. Who's in charge of Palace at the moment? Peter Crouch. Okay then, that is going to bring us to the end of this little run through. Hopefully we've gone over lots of bits and pieces. Of course, next time will be a transfer episode. The final thing I'm going to leave you with, I said we were going to mention a few individual performances. We kind of went over the main ones. Average ratings over the course of the year, the names you're expecting. Elliot Holmes having a pretty good year. But this is the interesting point with all of what we've said to do with transfers and players coming in and out, is that if you look at the contracts expiring this summer, there's a chunk of them, and it's going to be interesting to see how many of these guys remain. Mohamed Owusu is probably the only one that will definitely stay. Fitzpatrick as well, but even with him as the goalkeeper, is he a Championship level goalkeeper? I'm sure you'll have your own thoughts in the comment section. Do let me know, of course. And I'll see you again soon then. With Love With Care, it's been Benji. It's been quite the ride. Hopefully you've enjoyed it so far, and there's plenty more to come. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye. Oh, the Championship. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. We're in the icon status, and what a list it is. I bloody love it.